What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. It is the 26th day of October, and here we are sitting at $113.6 thousand with 11 hours and 46 minutes left in the day. We're up a little bit today. Nice to see, right? Up 1.8% on the day so far, and within this megaphone pattern, I think it's increasingly obvious that we are having what is known as a partial decline. Now, typically in these broadening patterns, whenever you get a partial decline, that means that you will reach for the trend line, but you won't get there, right? It's a partial decline. You're declining, but not fully partially, right? So it's a partial decline. It's a bullish signal that you will break out or that you will move back to the upside, and once you do, you will break out this time. This time we're looking for a breakout. The way that you measure these patterns, we've done this a few times over the past week now, but the way that you measure these patterns is you take the low to the high of the price within the range, right? The low to the high of the pattern overall, and you'd put this at the high point of the pattern if we are to break out to the upside, if we're assuming that, and your breakout point would take you all the way up to about $154,000, something right around there. We could break out to the downside. That's possible too, but typically, if you were to expect to break out to the downside in a megaphone pattern like this, you would see something like, one, two, three, four, and then on the fifth leg, you get a partial rise where you don't touch this trend line, and then you break through, right? So we're set up in kind of an opposite formation where it would make the most sense, I think, to go to the upside. Anything can happen. Just because you look like this right now doesn't mean you can't go down. But statistically speaking, not only are we probable, is the probable outcome to go higher from here, but it's to break out and exceed targets all the way up to about $154,000, $155,000, something like that. And again, I want to touch back on this. The measure move, I deleted it and everything, but the measure move that took us up here to like $154,000, that's just an idea. We don't have to stop there. We can stop below there. We can stop above there. In fact, let's actually see if there's any fibs right there from a high to a low, relatively speaking. Yeah, 154K right there. Right here at our 200 to 1886 fib extension. That's a perfect area to stop, somewhere in this area here. If we stop just below, maybe we stop here. If we stop just above, maybe we stop here, something like that. Ultimately, I think we are on a path that's going to take us to about $180,000 to $190,000 by the end of the year, but we'll see. And we'll likely push higher going into 2026 as well. So we've got a lot of growth, you guys. I mean, just think of it like this, right? What we're talking about here, what we're forecasting, is that here's the end of the year. That's January 1st right there. We're talking about being all the way up here by that time. So effectively, Bitcoin's going to be doing this, guys. It's more or less we're going to be following that line, right? There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and we're going to be somewhere around here, maybe not exactly at the end of the year, but somewhere by the end of the year. I don't care if it's earlier or at the very very last day, but I think that we would be somewhere up here by the end of this year here. Looking at the short-term stuff, the 1 hour, let's see how sustainable this move is. Hold on real quick, guys. I had to cough there. 113.7K right now. The RSI is moving up. It's looking great. This is fantastic. This is really good stuff, you guys. If you ever wonder what a good RSI looks like, we're on the 1 hour time frame. But even if we were looking at this on a daily, a monthly, a weekly, whatever time frame, this is awesome. Getting overbought consistently, so many times in such a short span, right? Not even getting below the 40. Living predominantly above the 50. All good things. Not getting oversold once. And if anything, we're getting stronger readings. We've been getting overbought for quite some time. A little bit oversold here and there, but in the grand essence of everything, we've been above the 50 more than we've been below the 50. It's a very bullish RSI. Even with this, it's a very, very bullish RSI. So looking good here. Here's what I want to do real quick before we move on, okay? You see this? You see how high we are? We're at about an 86. We can go higher. We've been higher before. Let's go to the last time that we were this high or higher. No pun intended. Okay. Can we get much higher? Okay, so it was this time over here. So you can see we haven't been overbought in quite some time. And we finally get this, and we finally get all the way up to this area here. Okay, so this is our first interaction of readings on the RSI that are at this level here, oops, or higher, right? That level right there, or higher. Whenever we got to this level here or higher, where were we in the grand respects of this move? You see? You see how much? I mean, look at this was just the beginning of a move back on September 28th that took us all the way up to new all-time highs by October 6th. In a week's time, we went to new all-time high. We went from virtually the same price that we're at now, a little bit lower technically, and went all the way up to our all-time highs. You guys, we're having the same readings on the RSI on the 1 hour that set us up. Actually, sorry, we're seeing the strongest readings that we've seen since the beginning of this move. Well, the main point, I'm not trying to say that we're going to go on another run like this. Maybe we do. Maybe it's stronger. Maybe it's weaker. That's not the point. The main point being that there was more to come. Okay, we got super overbought here, right? Just like we are now. We're at the 86.7 level, but here we got a little bit more than that. But this is the last time that we saw anything close to where we are now. And the point being here is that when we got this high in the overbought zone, was this the end of the move? Were we anywhere near the end of the move? Hell no. We had a lot more to go. Okay? And maybe this time we only have a little bit more to go. Maybe, you know, who's to say that it's going to be the same move? Maybe we have even more than that to go. But my main point being here, and I'm sure you've gathered by now, is that this does not stop here. This does not stop here. It's going to continue, right? We're going to go higher. From now until the end of the month, we're going to go higher. That's what's going to happen. I mean, that was a week worth of growth last time. That was a week's worth of growth right here. We've probably got at least a few days of growth, if not more, right? Something like that. Stochastics are looking good. Very good. The main point being that whenever you get this deep in the overbought zone, a lot of people think, oh God, okay, this is time to sell. We're getting really high up here. Typically when you get high up here though, there's more to come. And it's in this more to come that you form your bearish divergence and then you top off. So we've got more to come. It's the 1 hour time frame. This will express probably the coming days rather than the coming weeks though. Stochastics are bullish, looking good. And the MACD's bullish, scooping the zero there, coming up. Beautiful, building bullish momentum. I do want to take a moment to say that, you know, here, 113.7K right now. If you watch this video and we're down, I mean, we're down like $1,000, I think we're fine. If we come all the way back down below 112K, we might, this could be a fake out breakout where we do come back down. But I just don't see that happening. Again, these kind of readings typically you do persist. 4 hour time frame here. Looking at this, the RSI is just getting in the overbought zone. Again, I want to take us back on a kind of thought process here where we haven't been overbought in quite some time. We finally got overbought. Here, you know, this is the last time we got overbought. We hadn't been overbought in quite some time. We finally get overbought. What happened here when we finally got overbought after not being overbought for quite some time? Well, again, this was just the beginning of the move. This was just the beginning of the move. And it's not just this one instance, right? I don't want to keep using this one instance. Let's go back in time, right? It had been some time here. You were overbought here. It had been some time before you got overbought again. And here you weren't even getting nearly as deep of readings as you got back here. But it had been some time. I think we can notably see here you were overbought. It had been some time since you were in the overbought zone. So here, you got overbought. And you were at a relative high point. But from this low to this high, where were you in the grand correspondence of this move? You weren't even a quarter of the way through, right? This move was just beginning. That's the point. This move from that low, it's just beginning. It's just beginning. And we have this nice little uptrend with these horribly drawn lines that I have. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. Let's put an actual straight line on here, something like this, right? Yeah, like that. Perfect. Maybe get this one too, so it looks more parallel. Yeah, perfect. We can go higher. And again, the idea here is that the higher you go, the deeper you go. Even with these shallow movements, you still had more growth to go over time. But the deeper you go, the more movement that you'll see, and the more likely you are to have this kind of prolonged existence in the overbought zone, where that is where you do your best work typically, right? A lot of people think overbought means selling, but look at this, right? Look at the whole time you're overbought. If you, I mean, like, you know, that's the best part. That's the best part. Really, you should sell once you get out of the overbought zone. That's you know what I mean? That's whenever it would have been. But don't take that to the bank, because if you sold when you got out of the overbought zone here, you missed the rest of the move. You know, don't take that to the bank. It depends. It's all circumstantial. But it looks here certainly like we have more to go, and I would think that we have more to go today and even over the next couple of days. Stochastics look bullish. MACD looks bullish. All good things, you guys. All good things. We have the FOMC announcement on the 29th of October right here. Probably right here on this candle, actually, on the 16th hour there. It'll be, I think, on the 18th hour or something in that kind of time frame. And then we have on the 30th, we have Trump and Xi meeting. So we've got two big events that should be hopefully beneficial to the markets, right? That's what we're hoping for. I would expect that we do move up into these events. And in which case, again, if we were to move at the same pace, a faster pace, or even a slightly slower pace, I would think that Bitcoin will be, 116K or higher. We should be above these highs. And again, I really wouldn't be surprised if as soon as we got above these highs, that's where we find our top. And I say our top, I mean a momentary high, right? Like this was a momentary high, and here we are 3 days later, and we're going to contest that, right? The golden ratio right here is at about 117 to 118K. If we keep moving at this trajectory, boom, that's the 29th of October, 30th of October right there. That could be a good place, buy the hype, sell the news. Could be a good place to come down, correct, find support down here, right where we are now, and then continue to move up, something like that. It's actually very common. This would be the first interaction, right, from a high to a low. This is the first interaction with the golden ratio. We haven't been up here, right? We got close back here, but not after the low. This is after the low. Since this interaction with the low here, we have not hit the golden ratio. Typically, with the golden ratio, you do stop there on the first attempt, and then you come back and you find support here within this range, maybe right at this line, or maybe in between, and then you move up afterwards. Okay, resistance, support, and then you continue to move up afterwards. So I would think that we do stop at about 117 to 118.7K. Now, if I'm wrong, if we blast through the golden ratio on the first attempt, which that happens too, you typically do get the same kind of correction, right? It's just bigger now, right? Now you go to that same kind of area if you go all the way up here, but it's just a bigger correction. It's a little bit more volatility, and that's fine. I'll take volatility. I'll take a bigger drop to open up November. I'm fine with that. But regardless, I would think early November, I mean, the way that I have this drawn here, this is like the 7th of November. Early November, we should be at new all-time highs. And there's a quite possible situation, a scenario where, again, we move faster than this, and we could actually even see new all-time highs by the end of the month. The end of the month is right here. We could see new all-time highs by the end of the month. Time will tell. Let's see. Daily time frame. Bouncing off the oversold zone. Daily RSI looks immaculate. I mean, this thing really tells the story to begin with, right? Down here, we should have known that we were at the low because that's it in the RSI. You don't go lower than this. We haven't gone lower than this since February. All year, this area has held us up. I mean, just look at how perfect it is. Literally, this whole zone, everything has been held up. Every single low we've had since March has been held up right here. We're getting overbought. This is a really good RSI too. I mean, we look at this on the daily time frame. It's not the craziest, most explosive price action, but overall we are getting higher highs consistently, higher lows consistently, right? Stochastics look good, look like they want to continue to push higher. We're going to get into that overbought zone, and same thing with the RSI. The best stuff happens when you're overbought. We're not overbought yet, but we're looking to get overbought in the coming days, the 29th, 30th, hello, right? Look at when we got overbought here, when we got overbought here. Let's just see what the price, and even here, right? It's not the same. It's actually kind of different reactions, right? Here, you're in it for a good bit. Here, you're in it for a good bit. And then here, it's like two prods where you're rejecting it both times. Let's just look at all of them, okay? And let's look at the price action that's leading to it, right? Because the stochastics are going up into it, and then specifically the price action that happened once you're overbought. And here I'm going to put these there too. Okay, right there, right there, right there. Okay. So you were working your way to getting overbought before, but then once you were overbought, that's whenever you saw, you were about halfway through your move, and that's whenever you saw your finish was up here, and your biggest day of growth was here, 2.6%. This was a 2.4% day, right whenever you got overbought there, 2.1% day, but the biggest day happened whenever you were in the overbought zone. Here, you're moving up, but the most consistent behavior, the biggest movement upward happened after you're overbought. Here, you're moving up, and then once you get overbought, boom, biggest day, you see more growth afterwards than you did before. Do you see what I'm saying? So all these lines are put right before you got overbought. You moved up going into it. But the best times typically are after or during the overbought zone. I shouldn't say after the overbought zone, after you get overbought. So once you're in the overbought zone. We haven't been overbought yet. With today's close, if we close here, we're still not even overbought. But with tomorrow, we probably would get into the overbought zone, which means that tomorrow, Monday, should be a good day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably at least 3 days of good stuff being in the overbought zone, unless we just get into it and reject it. But even then, we got in and we got out, and then we got in, we got out. It still provided growth afterwards. So I would assume that here we had a few days of growth. Here you had about 5 days of growth, and here you had about 4 days of growth before, well, three and a half, let's say, three and a little bit of growth, and then you drop down. I would think that between now and the end of the month, which is about 5 days, we're going to have some growth. And probably the last day or two might be a little bit of decay as well. So that's good. That's really good stuff, you guys. And again, the thought I want to offer here, going back to this, so we were talking about the golden ratio. Oops, not trying to do that. Talking about the golden ratio as a potential target, because statistically speaking, the most probable outcome is that we reject there, come back down, find support somewhere, and then we move up. Okay. The fact that we've moved like this, we haven't been overbought yet on our daily indicators, or really even on our 4-hour indicators. We're not really that overbought. There's a strong chance that we do push higher to about 121 to 123K before the end of the month. I really wouldn't be surprised if we were up here. Okay. Don't be shocked if we do stop at about $117,000 to $119,000 right there. That's a perfect area to find resistance. It really is. But again, with what we've seen, are we going to get that much growth after we get overbought on the stochastics? Is that what's going to happen, or are we going to get more growth than what we saw here, right? Because that much growth is less growth. We can see I've just drew a rough line here from the low to the high. It doesn't even fully encapsulate this here, which is the time before getting into the overbought zone. And we noticed that every time after you got overbought, you actually saw more growth, not less growth. So if we were to see more growth, might that then promote the idea we see $121,000 to $124,000, $123,000 in price? I think it would. And sometimes you do. Sometimes, and especially when you've interacted with the 0.5, those are the moments when you do actually break through the golden ratio on your first attempt. Again, let me just say this again, because I've been doing technical analysis for 10 years. I'm very well educated with the Fibonacci retracement tool. I have a lot of experience with it, okay? Whenever you find resistance at the 0.5 before you interact with the golden ratio, it's moments like this that you statistically have a better chance of breaking through the golden ratio on your first attempt. It's the most common thing to find resistance on the first attempt, but there are times where you break through, and typically during those times you interact with the 0.5 beforehand. And of course, you're going to interact with the 0.5, right? If you're moving up, you're doing this here, boom, you interacted with the 0.5 before going to the golden ratio. That's not what I mean. I mean, this is your pivot, right? Typically, when you go to the golden ratio, you pivot here at the 382 to the 236, and then you move up. If you pivot at the 0.5 first, even if you go all the way to the 236 like we did, you statistically are more likely on that attempt to come back up. So, of course, you're going to interact with the 0.5. You have to break through this level before you get there, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you have an interaction like this, when you're consolidating, and you have an interaction like this, it could bounce at the 236, it could bounce at the 382, but if you find resistance at the 0.5 first, you're more likely to break through the golden ratio and stop here than you would be if you didn't have this interaction. But still, even then, not to make it confusing, even then, the most likely outcome is still to find resistance here, just to be clear. But I think using everything else, it is safe to really assume, I think 121 to 123.4K is the intended target area by the end of the month. MACD's crossing green, love to see it there. Again, some of the weakest readings on the histogram on the MACD that we've seen, dating back to earlier parts in 2025 and even 2024. We haven't seen this low of a reading in the histogram, I think, this whole bull cycle. The closest one was back here in August of 2024, which was a low point, right? August 5th, that was a low point. So we're definitely in levels of in good areas to accumulate, let's just say. Looking at the fear and greed index, we're still in levels of fear at a 34 here. I think it's a good time to go. Most people I think are not expecting that we're going to move up right now. They're still looking for lower prices, or they think that they have more time before things take off. But with this FOMC announcement and Donald Trump and Xi meeting up, I just think that we're going to be pumping. I think there's good things coming, you guys. I don't really know what else to say other than, we're about to break out of this megaphone pattern. Maybe not this week, maybe not by the end of this month, but going into November, we should be breaking out of it. And that would lead me to expect by the end of November, at a bare minimum, we're above 150K by the end of November. It's quite possible that by the end of November, we're at 170, 160K. And going into December, we're looking for that 180, 190K target, maybe even beyond that. I don't have anything else that I want to say. I think I've said it all. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Take care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.